So first thing, establishing shot of the school. Well, we don't know what the school looks like, and just saying establishing shot is a little, it doesn't provide the opportunity to describe the school the way that you see it. So we can get rid of this, okay? We can make it a school on a mountaintop, or what kind of school on a mountaintop, okay? We can even give it a verb, a blank kind of school on a mountaintop looms, okay? So that we are also personifying it. What does that do? That establishes it, that creates that establishing shot. Okay. Now you've got TV screen, local Swiss TV station reports headline breaking news, disappearance of high school student from elite boarding school. I get the what you're trying to do right up front with the story of it. What I would suggest is actually, you know, on the TV screen, okay, and then have the reporter, make the reporter a character or the commentator, okay, and then what is the headline that she gives, okay, what does she say? All right, because this is, we don't know whether we're reading it and we don't want to make it up in our head, okay, especially not on the first page. 19 months earlier, interior train station day. Okay, so now I'm excited. I like how you're like, ooh, okay, 19 months earlier, and so I know somebody's missing, and so it's perfect. When we meet Carla, remember to capitalize her. Okay, she's new. You say a 16-year-old LA native. So here's a trick, which is we make her 16, okay? And now what that allows for is Carla, 16, what kind of LA native? We can give her a personality now. We can give her an adjective, all right? So yes, she's 16, but she's also more than that. Sits jet-lagged but restless on a Geneva airport bench next to her two gigantic suitcases. Great visual to come up on. We've got a new beat here, okay? As the train arrives, there is an unexpected mix of bells, moos, roosters roaring over the intercom, quickly followed by, okay, so we got a lot here. As the train arrives, instead of there is, it's happening, right? So let's get rid of that kind of passive voice. And as the train arrives, an unexpected mix of bells, moos, and roosters roar. Okay. Roar over the intercom, quickly followed by a sophisticated feminine voice announcing an official welcome to Switzerland. I would love, just like with the commentator or the reporter, is to give that a character. So it can be intercom even. We make that a character, okay? And then we've got what said. Carla looks confused and a bit flustered. Okay, good. Now we go to interior train continuous. Carla boards the train, gets seated, and puts her AirPods in. Okay, there's a lot in this one paragraph about her getting, boarding, and then she's listening to her playlist and Californication and all this. This is you guys very nicely trying to slip in a soundtrack, okay? And I respect it, but wouldn't it be great just to come up a little bit later on the scene so that all this time doesn't pass? So I would consider, I know this is going to hurt, I would consider cutting that, okay, and coming up on the train and her looking out the window, because that's what's important, is to see movement, okay, we're in the middle of this and we're now seeing what she sees, the beautiful Alpine, okay? I don't even know if we have to see her fall asleep. Oh, sure.
Yeah, Pilar, I think the reason why we put that in is because she's sort of homesick, and the Chili Peppers and LA, and that's
It
what
could
we were
be
trying.
any song about
That's
LA.
what we were trying to, convey
Let's
there.
let's give her time to get homesick.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if this is a personal rule, okay, that you're trying to say, then that like we're going to see her constantly going back to this song, and you're trying to set it up here and keep paying it off, then maybe we can at least edit this back a little bit so it's not about boarding the train, getting seated, putting her AirPods in. She's there, okay? So let's at least get rid of that,
Mhm.
okay? Scroll through her Spotify playlists, until she gets the
Yeah,
gets
what
the
to be.
playlist labeled home. Okay. Okay. Let's, all right. So try that. Okay.
Mhm.
And for people who are watching and say, well, wait a minute, you can't put in a specific song. Yeah, you can, because it's part of her story. But later on, if they can't get the rights to Californication,
Yeah,
they'll replace it with somebody else. So as a specific marker, it's fine. Okay, so then she falls asleep. Then we hear this, and then she wakes up. So there's going to be some time that passes here, but it's what you wanted. So then she gets out and she seems lost. Okay, I think actually,
yeah, it's far away. That's why some time passes.
yeah, I think actually, see this?
Mhm.
We're going to put this there.
Yeah,
Okay.
makes
All
sense.
right. Okay. So then we've got Juan Carlos, an entrepreneurial, charming taxi driver with a youthful, gossipy spirit, gives her a wave. I think the youthful, gossipy spirit is going to come through in all of this. Okay. So entrepreneurial and charming, it gives us more room to work with rather than him just being gossipy. Okay. That might narrow him a little bit. Um, so Juan Carlos walks over to Carla. Did you miss the school shuttle? What? Okay. So disoriented and confused, the parenthetical always comes before the actual line. Okay. So you can do that. Their airport bus, you're headed to the international school, right? Yeah, exactly. How did you know? Now, when you have an action line like Snickers and goes over to put her bags in the trunk, okay, that is such a big action line. It belongs on an action line rather than parenthetical. Okay. Um, get in, I'll drop you off. Carla pauses for a moment. Alea, Alea, I don't have all day. She gets in the back seat. This is great. Again, great storytelling of you sort of just jumping us in. And now we've got this person picking her up. And we all know this feeling of being somewhere and not knowing who to listen to. It's, I think emotionally you're connecting with the audience. Driving up the narrow and steep switchbacks up the mountain, getting above the clouds. Let me guess, American, right? For the most part, that obvious? He chuckles, LA, born and raised. Okay, so all of this is working great. All of the dialogue is working really well. I love the fact that Juan Carlos's assumption is parents getting divorced or were you expelled? So that tells us something. That tells us something about the backstory of this place. Okay, so that's very specific. And then Carla is able to give some of that exposition with just tired of wannabe influencers, keto diets, and people genuinely surprised to know Spain is not South America. Really gives you a sense of her voice. Okay. And then I love how it then jumps down to plus my best friend slept with my boyfriend. Okay. Great. Um, I wondered if that wasn't such a good button, whether maybe you go out on that in that scene. Just it's just a thought. Okay. You don't have to do it. It's just a
Sorry,
thought.
you mean? What do you mean by
She
that?
means just
Well, you know, if you did this,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
now the audience knows, and Juan Carlos probably going to be like, you know,
Yeah.
that's what it's really about,
Okay.
probably. So it might be a better button to go out on. Okay. That's what we mean when we talk about buttoning up the scenes. So it's an idea. It still works the way it is, but let's leave it with a cross out so that you can think about it. So then he grabs her suitcases. Now here, and yes, I know, guys, it's beyond 2 pages. These guys snuck in 3.5, but we're going to do it anyway. Here, mischievous, not creepy. Okay, so what happens is Juan Carlos says, all the way from the station, so it's 70 francs, but I have a flat rate. And he basically says, so call me anytime you need a ride. Then he adds in mischievous, not creepy, or anything else. The problem is it's hard to determine that mischievous, not creepy here. It's just so I wonder if maybe you don't even have or anything else. There's very hard to imagine with a young girl and a man she just met for it to be anything other than creepy. So since you don't want to put Juan Carlos in that category, you might just want to just cut that all together because later on she says, so call me anytime you, he says, so call me anytime if you need a ride. Maybe she does, but he ends up helping her in another way. Okay. So it's just a thought. Thanks. What's your cell? He gives her the cell. Merci. JC, nice to meet you. And then he says, bon courage. Wait, how do you say bon courage?
Mhm.
Bon courage, Cali girl.
Good luck.
Great button. Okay. Really, really, really good. Okay. So thank you for letting me do these edits with you. All right. As you can see, you're telling the story, but we just want to tell it in a way that's really concise. Okay. And also with wording that speaks to the visuals that you want. Right. Thank you,
Thank you so
Claire.
much.
Thank you, Anna.